Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host Sean Garmer. Here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And it seems like there's quite a few things that are the same from last week, including Super Mario Brothers movie making more money and breaking more records. We'll talk about that. Some controversy about FPS has gone on during earlier in the week. We'll talk about that as well, involving Redfall. Some people leaving Xbox again, and even some people leaving a PlayStation studio as well. So it's not all one-sided this week. And there's quite a bit more, including Knuckles Cast announced, Sonic Team and SEGA are taking over Angry Birds, and much more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right. So whether this is your first time listening or 100th time listening or watching, we always appreciate you. Thank you for joining us, whether you do it live on the YouTube W2 network there, or you watch us on Twitch or Facebook or Twitter or wherever. We appreciate you. And you can always watch on demand as well on YouTube. Just go subscribe, follow, like, whatever you want on the YouTube channel. Just find W2 Network there. You get everything we do, not just us here. And like I said, I think at the beginning of the last podcast, we have not only one, but we have two reviews Super Mario Brothers movie, including ours as well. On the last, so if you missed us last week, Marc and I did our review of Super Mario Brothers movie. We also have the very well done from the Radulich crew for Damn You Hollywood Super Mario Brothers movie review, and then you also have from our buddies Randy and Jens on Chapter Select as well. So the YouTube channel has everything you want Super Mario Brothers movie, and we'll talk about what's going on with that right now on this week's show. But just wanted to give them a shout out as well. There'll be links in the description if you're watching or listening later. And remember, if you're listening, you can't subscribe just to the network. You have to go and subscribe to each one of those podcasts. So whether it's Chapter Select, Radulich Broadcasting, or us, Video Games to the Max, go subscribe wherever there are podcasts. It'd be awesome if you go leave a review, a like, follow, whatever, and let us know what you think. But, enough of the housekeeping. Let's go ahead and get it started here right now. So since we're talking about news, and we already mentioned Super Mario Brothers movie here, Marc.
Yep.
Wouldn't you know it, it holds steady at another week. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of competition, let's be honest. But I don't think that really would have mattered here. Over 700 million worldwide, making about 92 million domestic, which is still pretty great. It's probably one of the smallest drop-offs you get for one of these big movies in a second week.
Yep. Yeah.
And it is now broken the record for, best-selling movie of this year over Ant-Man Quantumania, which, I guess that wasn't that much big of a break to do. At least, I guess, fastest in how much it's made money, not, I guess, in highest gross overall or whatever. But and then it's the highest grossing video game movie already, period. That also didn't have much to break there, but still.
It beat Doom. How could that ever happen?
Yeah, exactly. Doom, Detective Pikachu, Warcraft, that was the highest selling one. It didn't take long, but pretty sure 1 billion is in its sights. It's more about where it could land ultimately, Marc. We know this is going to be the highest video game movie ever. It's going to be very hard for any movie coming out after this to top it, other than a sequel to itself. I don't think Sonic 3 will be doing any those numbers. But
don't worry. Once they're released a Blinks the Time Sweeper movie, that'll do it.
Thank you, Keith, for watching. And of course, he mentions the Ant-Man. Yes, we all wanted that to be better than it actually was.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it last week. There's just a secret sauce in that movie that I think works
Not really. I mean, you like the
yeah.
movie way more than I do, I think. I mean, I think it
Yeah.
just works kind of fine.
I mean, to be
But
fair, it's not the greatest movie. I think I was listening to shout out to Spec Mode and the Outer Haven guys. They always did a great job. They were talking about the difference between Sonic and Mario. If you're looking at it from a movie standpoint, Sonic is a better movie.
Yeah.
Especially Sonic 2.
It has a plot.
Yeah, it has a plot. But I mean, as far as like hitting at that right moment in time where like you have a great cast of voice actors, actresses doing the roles. Whatever you feel about Seth Rogen and Fred Armisen, that's on you. But I think everybody else, I think most people are okay with them. And then like you have just an amalgamation of, again, like I think we mentioned last week, of just Shigeru Miyamoto was huge in this. He made sure it felt, sounded, looked, every adjective you can put like a Mario game in a movie, and it gives you all those feels. I guess if you're whether you're a Mario fan or not, just from I guess having the nostalgia of Mario at all, I think it's just one of those things. Like even my daughter who doesn't know Mario, she enjoyed herself. Like she had fun, and it's a fun movie. It's just like 90 minutes of nonstop. Don't think about anything, just in your face constantly, and it's over before you really, can think about too much, which I guess is bad in a way. But yeah, there's that. But I mean, like, where do you think you think it's gonna break, let's say, Frozen 2's record?
I mean, it could.
Highest animated movie?
Is Frozen 2 the number one animated movie, or?
Yes, as far as like in the top tier of ever, Frozen 2 is the top animated movie.
You have to look at like what markets has the movie not in it yet. Is it in like the UK?
It has not released in Japan yet. It doesn't release until the end of the month, and we know how crazy they are about Nintendo.
Well, I think once it hits there, it might do it, but it's a real like only two or three movies have like done well, like are done like over $300 million in Japan. So
okay, well, I should retract because it depends on. Some people consider these animated and some people don't. Technically, the Lion King like live action movie is higher grossing than Frozen 2. It depends on.
No, I wouldn't call that, or
Some people do. There's people complaining about that should be considered animation and Mario shouldn't have as big of a I mean,
those people are wrong, so we can just move on.
But obviously, just for people's, if you don't know what the listings are, Frozen 2 is sitting at number 13 all time with $1.4 billion.
It won't. I don't think it'll beat that. Then if it's $1.4 billion, probably not.
You don't think so? Even with like not having released in Japan yet?
I mean, Japan will be big, but
right. It's also a smaller country compared to some of these other countries. Yeah. I mean, Avatar is number 1, Avengers Endgame number 2, Avatar: The Way of Water number 3. Yeah,
right.
That's like Avatar is at like almost 3 billion, so it's not getting there. But I mean, I think it's possible it could make Frozen 2. Like you said, that's a lot to say that it's going to hit 1.4 billion.
I think it'll pass $1 billion, but I don't think it'll get 400 or 400 million more above that.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that helps it a lot is, again, it's really short, so it makes it very easy for somebody to go, let's go watch that again. But also at some point, and the fact that like Nintendo doesn't have an obvious, this is a streaming service it's going to be on. Right. Like it's not like Disney or Peacock or any of those where it's like, okay, that movie comes out, we know what company is associated with, we know what streaming service it's eventually going to be on. Nintendo could just never be on a streaming service and it's only available for rental. Considering how Nintendo are about value,
it'll be on Netflix and Peacocks eventually this year.
You think so?
Well, they said yes.
They did. Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen that yet, so Interesting that they have already like said where it was going to be at. Yeah, Zach, Keith is he's commenting with us saying Disney's pretty petty and you saw a different rendition game exactly. Yeah, I just don't. It's going to be interesting to see where it hits eventually, but will it hit? I think it'll hit at least 1.2, but I think it'll kind of bottom out right there. It kind of depends on. Right now, I think what's also helping it is that it's in all of the special stuff, right? Like IMAX and 40X. I saw it twice in 40X.
Yeah.
All that stuff. It's on that special stuff right now. So it'll be interesting to see like once it gets out of that, like how much further it has to gross and everything.
Right.
But I mean, there is some more entertainment stuff here. And it's interesting because like I kind of had forgotten about this for a while, and then all of a sudden the cast for Knuckles gets announced. And it's like, oh, yeah, right, that's happening. It's on Paramount Plus, so we get to kind of see it. That's cool. Glad to, we knew Idris Elba was going to come back as Knuckles. It's kind of cool to see that like some of the actors and actresses from like the movie are also coming back, but we're not. It doesn't look like right now we're getting like any of the, like James Marsden or any of that right now. So even though they don't really have much to do with Knuckles, but still, like, you think we're gonna get much of Sonic or Tails in this, or is it gonna be mostly all Knuckles? Or
I think it'll be mostly Knuckles, but I'm sure they'll make appearances, in and out, like guest appearances or stuff like that. But I imagine it'll be like Knuckles in the Echidna tribe or his pals or whatever.
Yeah, like I want to see what Roy McCann's going to wind up doing as a guest star. He's always just his voice is very, it's him. So, from being in Game of Thrones and everything, good to see Tika Sumpter's back as well. So, it's cool. It's like this is set between Sonic 2 and 3, so you kind of, I guess, get to know like what Knuckles was doing, and then he's supposed to be like training Wade as his protege as well, like teaching him how to be an echidna. So
here's the important question: Who's gonna voice Big the Cat?
You always have to throw Big the Cat in here.
He's the best Sonic character. So
I sent you that that tweet that someone posted that Amy should be part of the core 4 always, and of course she was added to the Sonic Origins collection and all that. That's the like DLC to the Sonic Origins collection, and then I guess the new ones that are coming. You just totally you weren't okay with that. You
yep, because I don't care.
Well, also, but I mean,
like calling like the Dreamcast, quote unquote, doesn't make sense because the Dreamcast version of Sonic had 2 other characters, and one of them sucked and one of them was good.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, when you think about it, really, that's like the 4 that, I mean, for one, the top 3, I don't know what you can really argue with, right?
Sure.
It's that 4th one, you can kind of put it on whatever you want, But
Amy's always been kind of a bad character, though. Like that's like the weird in joke.
Yeah, but I can kind of, I guess, get the point. Right, like Amy's sort of a core character because that's Sonic's girlfriend and all that. So
it's Sonic's stalker.
But still, I'm good. I'm fine with it. It's cool. It's not
time to finally introduce Princess Sally into the equation.
We'll see how that goes, but cool that they announced this. Obviously, the movie's not coming out for like another year, so. Sonic 3, that is, and of course we got the tease of Shadow at the end of 2, so we'll be cool to see how they put Shadow into this whole universe and everything. And I'm sure he will.
You get to see Jim Carrey dressed as like old Dr. Eggman from Shadow's sister.
Well, right now we don't know if Jim Carrey is going to come back. Right?
Believe me, he'll come back because I'm sure they signed him to a three movie deal.
Well, I mean, he's like on the verge of like retiring, right? That's the word right now? So how much money is Sega, Paramount, and everybody else gonna dump on his front door and be like, "Yo, you have to be in this, even if we make another. Okay, maybe we'll make more after this, but you got to be in this third one at least. Make this trilogy, you know." So I would hope so. He made the first two. He was along with Sonic. Just it's that perfect. Like you didn't know if Jim Carrey was going to play the part well, and he wound up, I feel like, surpassing that. Yeah, he doesn't necessarily look like the cartoon Eggman all the time or hardly ever, but still, like he made that his own, and I thought they made that movie special.
Time to dig out the Austin Powers fat bastard fat suit and stuff him in there finally.
I'm sure they will. They probably tease that in this movie, if not put him in it at some point. There, depending on how much time has gone past. But because we're speaking of Sega, and it's not like this studio isn't not known for their animated movie excursions as well. Sega is set to acquire Rovio, which, if you don't know, they're the ones that own Angry Birds. In fact, Angry Birds sells so much they had to delist it from their store because they couldn't get anything else to sell.
Right. They can't get their paid games to sell. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because Angry Birds only costs like 99 cents.
Yeah.
And doesn't have any kind of microtransactions. So like they're not really making that much money, but everything else that they need to sell is not, because Angry Birds is like the known thing at this point. But Sega, 776 million, which is a lot less than the billion that Wall Street Journal was reporting at the beginning of the week. It's supposedly something that Rovio is very happy about. It's called a friendly takeover, whatever that means. Rovio actually has been doing well the last couple of years, even though you wouldn't know they were still around unless you were just really in the mobile space, which, to be fair, we really aren't. But
right.
I mean, Sega has ventured into the mobile market before. They still kind of want to be a player in that. And even though, I've mentioned that like mobile gaming has gone down since things open up and people aren't in their homes that much anymore. And people are kind of getting tired, I think, of you still have your Candy Crushes and all of those, but I think a lot of the mobile gaming has kind of run its course.
Oh yeah.
So they're kind of trying to expand that and go beyond mobile games also, because Rovio wants to go beyond that. They haven't really been able to break into the console space or PC that much. And Sega kind of wants to venture into the live service mobile.
I mean, I'm sure the first game they're going to make is some Angry Birds Sonic the Hedgehog clone.
Oh yeah. Like like you said, Angry Sonic.
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing for sure. Yeah, as Keith mentions, I still don't get that deal. Sega could have used that money other areas. I agree with you, but I've been seeing the stuff online, and it does make me wonder: is Sega trying to make themselves very much like we've talked about with Square Enix, right? Is Sega trying to make themselves look pretty for somebody? Hey, we got all of this extra stuff that you can use, also, right? Like Sony likes doing stuff with mobile. We know Xbox likes doing stuff with mobile. Xbox and Sega have partnered a lot. We know Sony and Square Enix have partnered a lot. So will one of those ever tie the knot? We'll see. But yeah, I'm hoping not, because I don't want to see any more of these acquisitions, but it feels like inevitable at this point. Like, we're probably gonna see one of these big. Do you think that we are at some point? Like, does it feel like we're just waiting for one of these Japanese companies to get announced as being acquired?
I think once the Activision deal goes through, officially, the next day it'll be Sony buys Capcom or Sony buys Square or Sega or everyone else.
I don't know about all that, but definitely Sony's going to be. They got something in the works already. You know, it just feels like they're waiting, right? Because if they announce anything right now, that's going to totally put the kibosh on them trying to be able to tell any of these governing bodies, hey, you can't approve the Microsoft deal, even though that seems to be waning a lot at this point. But as like another, it looks like South Africa is going to be another one of these places that's going to approve the deal. But, you know, if Sony wants to have any kind of hand to be able to say, hey, look, this is still a problem, you can't announce whatever they're doing. But definitely think that they got something cooking in the oven there. They're just waiting and biding their time. Right. Honestly, until this thing gets done. But yeah, this is just really weird because it's like unexpected. Like out of all the things we could have seen announced, right? It's like, okay, Sega's acquiring Rovio. All right, then.
I mean, it's unexpected, but I mean, Sega doesn't have like a good mobile division, really. So
yeah, no, they don't. So it does help them in that way. Like again, like it makes them look pretty to be say, hey, we have more of this. We sold our arcade stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that big hampering that somebody would have had to deal with, they no longer have to if they get taken over.
Yeah, it's not like I mean, COVID obviously hurt them, but you have to imagine their online or their arcade business wasn't going to last too much longer.
Right. Unfortunately, those are never got back in style, even though it would be nice if they did, because like having that atmosphere of the arcade is cool.
It kind of does, but it's all in like weird little pockets, you know?
Right. Yeah. Look, home consoles, PC have made it so convenient, even your phone, to where like, why would you go to this place and spend a bunch of quarters? You can do it at home, buy this one game and play whatever you want, you know? Yeah, but I guess we'll figure out what's going to happen. They feel like the deal is going to be done by September 2023. So we'll see if it does get done by then. I don't think there's anybody going to try to block this at all. Especially because, you know, it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong going, anything
also,
crazy. Yeah.
No one cares about Rovio. So, like,
yeah, like, I mean, I guess, you know, Angry Birds is still a property, right?
Yeah, but it seems like it's like it's outlasted its welcome, or
exactly.
This should have been like a bigger deal 5 years ago.
Oh, for sure. Especially when they were doing the cartoon and
the movies, all that crap. Yeah,
like, could that be something as well? Like, are they going to try to restart doing another Angry Birds movie or something? We'll see.
That'll be the tease for Sonic 4, the Sonic 4 movie. Both have an Angry Birds right at the end.
Oh no, that's when we completely jumped the shark at that point.
Yeah.
But yes. So I mentioned at the top that it's kind of, I guess, if you pay attention to gaming a lot, it's old by now. But pretty much almost as soon as we like did the podcast last week, this was the talk of like the weekend, and that for the early part of the week was this whole thing of Xbox once again has more bad PR with Bethesda announcing that they're going to release Redfall still on May 2nd, but it's not going to have 60 FPS.
Yeah.
It's going to have a 30 FPS quality mode, which, you know, that is the big thing that's been a talk about. It's a first-person shooter. It shouldn't have 30 FPS. It's a AAA game that's coming out on the most powerful console ever. It should have 30, you know, it should be 60. I mean, I know you're not the biggest graphical snob.
I mean, I would rather take, 60 FPS and have it be lower fidelity than 30 and, quality.
Yeah. I'm of the type that I always play 60 FPS.
Yeah.
With when they have the performance mode available, just because you can feel that difference of how it moves. Yeah.
It's funny. Most games can hit 60 FPS, like a stable, like 60 FPS.
Yeah.
Remember, I doubt you played it because it wasn't like a huge hit. but there was a PS1 game called Crime Killer.
No.
It was like a first person. You were in a car basically, like going down roads. That could hit 60 FPS better than a lot of current games can.
Wow. What does that say?
Yeah.
I
mean, I think developers just get too swept up in graphical prowess or fidelity. So, I mean, I don't want the game to look like complete garbage and have like a picture perfect frame rate, but there has to be kind of some push and pull.
But like, what do you think about the whole idea of now everybody's calling for, we should just delay the game, like,
well,
have it come
that's.
out. Yeah.
I mean, they're like, the 60 FPS patch will come later, but
they
didn't give a time frame. They didn't say it'll be out in a week or it'll be in a month. I mean, look at campaign co-op for Halo Infinite. That never came out.
Exactly. That's the problem. They set that whole bar of, this is coming eventually, and then no.
So, I mean, the game will come out, but I don't think it'll, like, for those types of people, it won't matter.
Yeah.
But I guess it all depends on really how it plays. But I can understand their frustration. Like, Microsoft is also not the most truthful company when when they say something or they promise something. So, yeah, like, until they say, the 60 FPS patch will be out like June 4th or August 19th or whatever, I'd probably hold off from buying the thing if I cared that much about it.
Right. I mean, there's also that component of it. This is going to be on Game Pass, so does it really matter?
Right.
Wouldn't you just play it anyway because you're already paying for Game Pass?
They should do, and you wouldn't like this, but what they should do is have the regular game be on Game Pass and have the 60 FPS patch. You have to buy it. That'd be pretty funny.
We had somebody on Twitch mention the whole, if they delay the game, then all these games will be able in 12 months promise will create more bad PR. I mean, technically they broke that already with Starfield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they pulled the Halo Infinite from the original, remember when the Halo Infinite, they originally showed it, you had the whole thing with Carl and everything else and the bad graphics, and they just delayed the game even further. I don't know. You need to do that kind of a delay. You don't need to do a Suicide Squad kind of delay either, which, we'll talk about here.
That's more fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't, it's not that bad. It's just, there's that whole component of how much does, the casual gamer that isn't involved in Twitter all day and isn't involved in, the minutia of what we're doing here. How much do they care? Are they just going to be playing with their friends and not going to care about whether it's 30 or 60 FPS? Like,
I mean, unless their friends say this doesn't play right or this doesn't feel off or this feels off, and they'll go like, well, I'm not going to get it, or let's wait until hopefully they fix it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I think does help with Game Pass is that, you all just have to have Game Pass. You can also get the family plan thing if I don't know when they're going to actually fully release that. But, you can have your friends in there and all just play this game. And you can say, hey, look, if let's say one of y'all is used to playing on PC and maybe it's not going to run like the best you think it's ever ran before, but hey, it's playable. We can all just have fun killing some vampires and whatever. And there you go. Arcane gets what they want. But, that's the thing is like Ghostwire Tokyo is out for Xbox for the first time. It doesn't run incredibly well on that console, even though it's had a year to get ready for it, which is weird.
Yeah.
And then, it's been on PlayStation for a while. It's now on PS Plus as well. So if you have it on PS Plus, you can play it there. But like outside of Deathloop, Arcane itself hasn't had the best. I mean, we can say Ghostwire Tokyo was fine, but it's not like anybody was putting it up for awards or anything like that.
Right.
Was.
It's like, passable, but it's not. Right. Yeah. I mean, I liked Prey when that came out,
Right.
like 5 years ago. But yeah, their track record is not the greatest. Like I didn't like Dishonored much. And their Wolfenstein games, no.
You're kind of Wolfenstein's a different studio, but like I think you're on the minority on Dishonored though. Everybody seems to love Dishonored.
Yeah, they're dumb.
But I mean that's the thing is it's weird
Dishonored had an interesting premise and like cool ideas, but like the limited power usage that's what broke it for me.
So what made like Deathloop work for you? Then it's
the fact that your power could regenerate.
Okay, well that's fair enough.
Like you could just hide out in your power, your teleport power or your slow-mo power or whatever the fuck, you could use it again.
Yeah, I mean the thing that they have going for this is that it's not like they have announced that this is some kind of a live service game or I'm sure there will be updates and I'm sure they will be adding things, but I don't know that this is an absolute killer. I think it's more of like
it's disappointing though. But I mean, think about like big games back in the day, like Far Cry 3, that barely ran on the Xbox 360. Like forget about 30 frames per second. You're lucky to get 10. So,
but I mean, what do you like? What does that say about these? Is there something wrong with these consoles, or should we just get ready for more 30 FPS games as they continue to make more use of these consoles? Because that's what it seems like we're getting a lot of talk about. Just this whole thing with Redfall, that's going to be the standard. Like you think all these things are going to have this performance with 60 FPS, and they're really not. Like even Todd Howard mentioned it's very possible that Starfield may not have 60 FPS either. Like
that, believe me, I wasn't expecting that in the first place, Todd. So
right, but just bringing up that this could be something we see a lot more going forward. Unfortunately, for people the thing is that sucks about this is it's a first-person shooter. You're used to being able to use 60 FPS for this. It's a game genre that is made on that, and then you're not going to have it. It's just weird. And then also it doesn't help that you have bad press, and then you're smacked in the middle of two, game franchises that people are waiting on the game in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and then of course the mega of all megas, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom right now. Like, do you feel like there's a little bit of like Bethesda's like throwing it out there to just be like, it's out, people, play it, whatever,
So that's kind of what they do with arcane games. So like,
but like Deathloop had its time, right? Like, and it helped that it got critics behind it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But this kind of feels like, man, we're just throwing it out there and then it's going to get completely forgotten if it even gets this moment, because people could still be high on Jedi Survivor. And based on the previews that a lot of people got to, play and everything last week, it feels like it's going to be that big game that everybody's waiting on. So,
right. I mean, I'm more excited for Jedi than like Zelda, for example.
Yeah. Interesting thoughts. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just, Bethesda has never had great track records when it comes to releasing their games. Like timing wise. I mean, it's usually in the winter or like the fall. But the games they don't do, like, they just kind of get tossed out and forgotten.
Yeah, I think it's great that GZDR4 EV says that Xbox in a tough situation because they have to deal with the Series S, right?
Yeah, that's what that developer a few months ago said. Like, that's its bottleneck. So, like, Microsoft can say, "Oh, it's not," or it has the same power as whatever. Yeah. But no, you're lying or you're dumb.
Yeah, I mean it's great that they've had games that can hit 120 FPS on that thing or whatever, but it's definitely going to be a huge dip in quality compared to the Series X for it to hit that.
Yeah.
And with their whole thing about, the parity, you got to have it look sort of similar on both. And that's where I think it hurts them is
like I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure Redfall Pi can run just fine 60 FPS on the Xbox One X or the Series X.
Yeah.
Series S, that's, no.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, how much of a dip do you want it to take on the console that is the predominant console for you?
Yeah.
Which, you can't say that for PlayStation. Yes, there's that digital version, but they're the same. It's just you don't have the disc drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that go ahead.
Do you think Microsoft regrets the Series S?
I don't, man. I bet that there are people that do.
I'm sure the salespeople don't, but I'm sure the technical minds are like, God damn it, we got to work on this fucking thing again.
Yeah. Like, I really want to know a dev that will come out and be like, I love the Series S. It's awesome. I love the fact that we have to develop for a console that is
in the
lesser
cloud
quality.
Yeah.
And eventually is probably going to be turned into a cloud machine, just like, they tried to do with the Xbox One X and all that stuff for that first year. And, that's the thing, is you're again having to downgrade your product to then make it like this. And then you're also doing it for the PC side, right? That ends up hurting the PC side as well. And you're making this whole big push about everything is, oh, you can play it on Xbox, you can play it on PC, you can play it on your phone. Okay, that's cool. You can downgrade on the phone with the cloud, but then on PC, people want to play it with their big rigs and everything. And then, like, I mean, I guess it's going to work just fine for PC. This is only affecting consoles, but still, like, when you're spending $500 for these consoles, you're expecting something like actually like next gen, right? And then this doesn't necessarily feel like that at times.
Right.
Just to throw this out again, he mentions like, oh, what's gonna happen when you have a GTA 6, right?
It's gonna look like GTA San Andreas.
Yeah. Like, how are they gonna cater that to the Series S and X? Like, that's the kind of thing with third party. I don't think they're as beholden to that parity thing as, say, like the first party stuff does, right? Like, they're a first party studio at the end of the day. Yes, Bethesda has some kind of anonymity or a little bit of they're choosing what they want to do, but at the end of the day, Microsoft makes the final decision, right? That whole thing we talked about apparently there was a Redfall that was supposed to be on PS5. Same thing that there eventually was supposed to be a Starfield on PS5. Those got canned. The one we know for sure was Redfall. Starfield, it was always like one of those, well, it's, Sony was trying to get exclusivity.
Incredibly likely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is Microsoft has decisions at the top level, but we know the way they do the management, for the most part, they kind of let the studios do what they want to do. And sometimes that turns out great, like Hi-Fi Rush. Sometimes it turns out bad, like Halo Infinite. And maybe this is going to be kind of more in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the 30 FPS is not a killer at the end of the day, but it definitely does affect, like, Microsoft has a really bad perception problem right now. And when you have this happening, and then the next story, which, to be fair, Joseph Staten has been around, as we mentioned last week, a long time. He kind of probably felt at this point like, oh, let me go for something else. But to find out that Joseph Staten is going to Netflix to start something AAA related over there, I wonder how Phil Spencer and everybody else feels about that. Like, to know, oh, you're leaving not for like some other studio you made yourself or whatever, for Netflix, which it seems like they're getting serious about the whole gaming thing.
I doubt it.
I mean, we've kind of talked about this before, right? Like, there's two avenues with this. You can either be Google, where you get into it, you don't realize how much of a cost this is, how much it all takes to make this happen, and then you have to backtrack and you close the studio. Or you have something like Amazon that kind of figured it out, and they have some games and whatever. I mean, Joseph Staten's a pretty big name to get. Somebody that knows what he's doing, right? He's been involved with some huge franchises in the past. I mean, wouldn't that be good for Netflix to bring somebody like that?
If they're actually serious about games, sure, but their moves have been anemic at best. So,
I mean, right now they have the mobile game offerings, which, if you have, I guess, I don't know what tiers you have to have in order to be able to use that. But the fact that, they're there for you if you get on Netflix on mobile, and they have some pretty good games on there as well. I've actually need to try Before Your Eyes on there because I've heard all kinds of great things, especially that apparently it's like one of the really good games to play on the PSVR too. But like, what do you think Netflix needs to do to kind of avoid that Google thing of like, okay, we got our head in too deep here, and now we have like no way to back out without just canceling this?
don't make games, just make game-related adaptations.
So you're saying like we need to make a AAA Stranger Things?
Yes, or an actual good Halo TV show, or
Well, they don't have anything to do with the Halo TV show,
right?
But he did mention it's going to be an original IP, a brand new AAA multi-platform game. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be only on Netflix, right? It just means that Netflix is making it, I guess.
Right. It's going to be like the last Starfighter, but instead you're actually programming Netflix's schedule. Like,
yeah.
Hello gets 20 more seasons. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, Netflix hasn't always been the best decider on like what to keep around and what to cancel.
They're awful. Like, they're the worst.
So that's kind of what worries me about this is how quick.
A year into development and go like, screw it, and just cancel it.
Like, look, I want there to be competition. Let's be honest here. If Netflix actually makes this happen, that makes Sony have to pay attention. That makes Microsoft have to pay attention, and Amazon and all that. Like, that's another player that's now involved in this. And if they can add more value to their subscription, can they bring back some of these people that lapsed or decided to cancel or whatever? I don't know how much that will help, but that's another thing that you can add to your portfolio and say, okay, we have games now. And I'm not talking about just stuff you play on your phone. You have games that, you can play on this. And I don't know if you have to Bluetooth the controller to your TV or however.
That's the problem with the controller thing. Or, people are going to have to go out and buy, a $40 controller probably at minimum to play games.
Yeah. And are they going to have like a Netflix controller, or are you going to be able to use PlayStation and Xbox controllers for this? Like,
I mean, it'd be smart to do the second one, but they're probably going to do the first.
I mean, also, will Microsoft and PlayStation want to play ball with them? Also, right. Like, I think they would in a way, because it's just, if we have to get some kind of cut because you can use our controllers, or I don't know how they would make that work. Stadia eventually made it to where they added a patch to where you could use other controllers that wasn't just the Stadia one. But, if they made it work, I'm guessing Netflix could, do it as well. It's just interesting to see they've gone this far. It's just, I worry about, look what they did with all the movies, right? Like, there was a point during the pandemic where they had like a movie come out every month, and they spent bucket loads of money on movies. And then all of a sudden they went and go, wait a minute. We're spending how much on having all these awesome actors in these movies? And then how much are we getting back?
Yeah.
Oh, like not a whole lot. Maybe we kind of need to go backwards on that. And that's the thing is, like you said, how far do they get in development? They go, oh my God, this thing's just eating money. How long is it going to take before this gets out? Oh, like 3 more years?
Right.
Accounting guy, how long does it take? How much do I lose if we cut everything now?
Like, that's what Ubisoft should be doing with some of their games, but they don't.
Yeah. Say hello to X Defiant.
Yeah.
But
I got the PR email last week. I was bitching to you about that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, from what I've seen, and everybody that's talked about it is like it feels like Call of Duty from like 10 years ago is the prevailing thought.
Ubisoft riding the wave once again.
Right? Yes, that's them. A little bit too late on that. Yeah, this is something that's been kind of floating around ever since the Activision Blizzard deal happened, and people have been saying like, "Oh, where would Microsoft go next?" Twitch viewer brings that up of just, "Hey, would Microsoft consider buying Netflix and combine it with Game Pass?" And now you can stream games on Netflix or have your Netflix with Game Pass, or I don't know how they would make that work, but that seems like a lot of cost.
Yeah. That'd be like I imagine it like it'd be cheaper to buy Activision.
Yeah, like I think that's idea in theory, but I don't know that Microsoft would want to spend all of that capital to then have to deal with all the crap that you have to deal with when it comes to Netflix.
Also, right? It's not like Netflix is has been doing that well over the past few years.
Yeah, Netflix has started to kind of downtrend because of all the other streaming services that are around.
Yeah, I mean the reason Netflix is getting into games is because they have to diversify. Or
exactly. Yeah.
So
I mean that's the big problem is that you're getting into this part where streaming services are starting to peak, and there's going to be consolidation. We're seeing that already with Discovery and HBO. You know, they change it to Max, which that's a stupid name, but I mean, like, who would have thought, the second part of Cinemax is what is going to live instead of, the big name that's HBO, but whatever.
For all your softcore needs, go to Max.
Yeah. I mean, they said it's because like HBO is not very child friendly, but I don't know.
As opposed to Cinemax,
like, as opposed to just Max, like
yeah.
I don't know. It's just not the greatest name, but whatever. It's gonna exist, and now it has 3 tiers. I don't know why we need to have the extra like $20 tier to have the 4K, but that's them doing the
4K people will pay it. That's why.
Well, it's them doing the Netflix thing, right? Like, let's charge more money to have more screens and have the 4K. And I pay for it for Netflix because I have people in my house that will watch all that, and I have 4K TVs, but like Max, no way. I'm not paying the extra for that. Like, I didn't want to pay $20 for the Disney bundle. And now it's biting me in the butt because I can't watch Disney Plus on my Roku TV because I still haven't made the stupid deal yet for some reason. But to have the Disney Plus with the ads thing, for some reason, I don't know why they had to make a separate deal just to have Disney Plus have ads. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, this is a new thing for Netflix. It's obviously going to bear fruit way later down the line. They're obviously going to have to add more people than just Joseph Staten, obviously. They might have to add some other big names, or just bring it. They're gonna have to bring in a whole crew, and how much is Netflix gonna shell out for that? Like, that's the thing, right? Is whenever when Netflix had this like diversity team, and then very shortly they canned half the people on that thing, or most of the people on that thing. So
that's good, because that diversity team worked on Cowboy Bebop, and then
yeah, that too. But I'm just saying, like, I worry about the devs and everybody else that gets put on this thing. I just hope it doesn't wind up like Google Stadia #2, where this is a great idea. We want to have this, and then ciao, it's out.
Yeah.
But going from one person that's left Xbox to another, Frank O'Connor is also left as well, and this was kind of like another kind of casualty, it feels like, of Halo doing what it's been doing, right? Just not
being the biggest success ever.
Yeah, of not being a great success at all. And, we saw Bonnie Ross leave. Frank O'Connor leaving, I don't feel like is too far-fetched of a thing.
Right.
He did a lot with Halo, especially with it being with 343 and all that, but I don't blame him for let's get out while people are just kind of Halo is what it is and maybe may not return to ever being what it was.
Right.
That's something that I think Microsoft really has to think about here is Halo ever going to be what it was?
It's the same problem as Gears of War.
But at least Gears of War 5, it had good vibes. A lot of people liked it.
It got critically praised, or did pretty well critically, but it didn't sell well.
Well, but that was with Game Pass in full force at that point. It wasn't going to sell.
That's the problem. You're not.
Well, but okay, they don't care about that though. They obviously don't care about the fact that the Xboxes aren't selling. They just care about putting everything into you must buy Game Pass.
But if there aren't new, if Gears 6 isn't on there or isn't even being made or barely.
Well, it is in development.
Yeah, it started. Yeah, after Coalition fucked around for a few years, but it's who's gonna keep people will sign up for Game Pass for a month, but play Gear 6 or Halo Infinite and then cancel it the next month. Why to keep this going?
Yeah, Xbox is no good. Yeah, right now Xbox not looking good at that point. But yeah, I just and another good point is that Shinji Mikami. We talked about him leaving.
Yeah.
It feels like again Microsoft has a perception problem. It has a retention problem. It has a lot of issues. I don't know. I don't know how this chain of command is working with Xbox as far as Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, all that. But it feels like there's in the whole let everybody have freedom thing. There's about too much freedom going on, and not enough focused attention on things.
Well, at least not enough products being released. That's, that's the big issue.
Minecraft is literally about to come out as we speak, Minecraft Legends. So that's something, right? Microsoft acquired them and has Minecraft has continued to live on and has made games. Dungeons was well received. It seems like Legends is going to be well received as well.
Yeah, it's got okay reviews.
Right. It's not my kind of game. Maybe we'll try it, but it's not something that I'm totally looking forward to. Redfall, I kind of am in a way, and that's what kind of makes me sad as a Xbox, person that grew up with Xbox, wants to see Xbox succeed because it only makes, PlayStation have to do more and Nintendo have to do more. Those two are already kind of set in their ways, and they have no, they're basically competing with each other, but in a way not competing with each other. So. Sony is the current gen bearer of, hey, this is what video games are. And then Nintendo's hey, we're doing our own thing, but we're awesome. So, and Xbox is just kind of there. And every time they do something, they also take 3 steps backwards.
Yep.
So, and I don't know what, that's what worries me about Activision, right? Taking Activision over is okay. We know we're going to get games and series that we haven't seen in a while, maybe, or
I don't think that at all.
Phil Spencer mentioned it. There would probably definitely be.
He mentions a lot of stuff that doesn't happen. So you can't.
No, I agree with you on that. He does, but do I think that there will be another Crash now? Sure, they're going to remove some of these studios that are working on Call of Duty as support studios, and they're going to have them do something else. I definitely do believe that, because what Microsoft needs right now, what Xbox needs right now, is quality games coming out consistently, or Game Pass doesn't work. because if you're Sony is blocking you from having these big third-party games on there. So you have no recourse but to either do what you're doing, right? Buy studios, but then you have to keep those games going. You can't just live off of Call of Duty being on there. You've got to have other games, right? And it can't just be, oh, Forza when that comes out, or insert small, like, Pentiment is cool, but it's not gonna make people get Game Pass. Hi-Fi Rush is cool, but that's something that people will get Game Pass for like the month it comes out, and then they'll unsubscribe again. Like,
that's what I was saying 5 minutes ago. Keep feeding this to the ground.
I'm just saying that, like, they really, if Redfall's not going to do the thing, then Starfield has to do the thing. Starfield has to be a mega hit, or they really need to be worried about where they're headed. Because if Starfield comes out and it's not talked about, and it's not something people are playing all over everywhere and all of that, and it like dies pretty quick, hopefully it does. Like, again, you want to see these places do well. And I agree with you, but they also don't have a reason to have like another Warzone, or like, I don't think that's one thing I will say. Like, Activision sometimes, to their detriment, releases too much stuff. Like we saw with Destiny, right? Like, Destiny is a much healthier place right now than when they were releasing numbered sequels. And like, let's release an expansion all the time. And like, at least the people at Bungie seem to be happier. I don't know about maybe the actual people playing the game.
Right.
But yeah, we'll have to see what they're going to wind up doing. But right now it's just, they really need to have something become just like Hi-Fi Rush earlier in the year, like be the thing that gets talked about. That being said, there is some movement on the PlayStation side. Even though, look, the people playing Dreams is not anything compared to like people playing, some other Sony franchises like, The Last of Us or God of War or whatever. But Dreams has its people that love to create things in Dreams, and it's kind of sad to see. Like, I've seen stuff that people have made in Dreams and it looks amazing. And thankfully, you'll still be able to create stuff in there. You just won't get any more updates after September 1st. They want to shift focus onto a new project. And you can't blame them, really.
Speaking of projects, remember Project Spark?
Oh, Lord. Don't get me started on that thing. Wasn't the whole big thing with that was that they had Conquer in there?
Yeah. Like that, that was their mascot. Or not mascot, but like we got like one licensed character and it's Conquer.
Yeah, okay. That means, did you see that whole thing from, was it Microsoft or Xbox, like Australia, New Zealand, about the Banjo-Kazooie thing? Like, I don't know. Maybe you need to remake that, or just make
that's a prime example of why I don't believe Phil Spencer, because he can go, we want to bring back all these Activision titles or franchises. It's like, motherfucker, you have Microsoft franchises you could be bringing back, like Conquer, or
I don't know about Conquer, but yeah, Banjo-Kazooie for sure. They own Conquer, yes. Right? But I mean,
it'd be dumb. It's a bad franchise.
I don't know about Conquer, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Banjo-Kazooie would be huge if they could actually make a sequel, or whether they want to reboot it or whatever.
Yeah.
And make that actually great. Like, you're going to get the nostalgia. You're going to get the people that are like, have it on 64 and go, oh my God, there's a new Banjo. Let me get hyped for that. Oh, it's on Xbox.
Especially since
like Game Pass for that.
That last Banjo game, Nuts and Bolts, like that was a good game, but it wasn't what most people wanted.
Exactly. That wasn't what most people wanted. So That's the thing. Is
So that's why like him going like we want to bring back these franchises. You could have done that 10 years ago, or you don't need Activision to do that. You could just do it, but you haven't.
Yeah,
and I hate to say it, but like once they buy Activision and once they acquire Activision, Halo's pretty much done.
yeah. I don't know about done, but that'll be interesting to see again.
Well,
like
the way back burner, let's say.
Well, yeah, they don't have this like need to have it be at the forefront anymore, right?
Right.
Like
they'll sell Halo back to Bungie.
I don't know about that. They have too much invested in that. That's they still do have season 2 of that show.
Don't worry, that's all they're getting out of that show.
With its mixed reviews and all. Yeah. There are people that really enjoyed that show. I'm not one of them, but
I thought it's fine. I mean,
yeah,
it's passable, but it's not like
right.
The Last of Us.
Yeah, and Keith brings up a good point about like Activision wanted money and they focused on that, and they butchered the rest of their studios in order to do that. Right, focused everything on Call of Duty, forcing Bungie to work on Destiny 2 when they wanted to do just Destiny 1 for 10 years.
Yeah,
and just iterate on that, and yeah, like that's the thing that I worry about too. Like how many of the actual like rare people that worked on Banjo-Kazooie are even around?
Ken Lobb, that's all you need.
Yeah, like that could even do that. Like
right.
I do, and that's what I was gonna bring up, is like I do think that they could make another Spyro, they could make another Crash with Toys for Bob, like Keith brings up. Like they could make that a franchise that people are now associate with Xbox, right? After all those years of being associated with PlayStation and then Activision having it and everything. You could do what Activision didn't want to do and have Tony Hawk's 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
To bring that back. Blizzard is going to be in a much better state of mind than they are currently. Rod Ferguson gets to come back to the fold. I don't know how much he's going to be doing on like Gears or anything, but he seems to be happy over there doing Diablo 4. So yeah, there's a lot of good things in this, especially like the work culture and all that moving in. But I do worry about, again, like they don't really seem to manage well having all these studios now. You're going to add more with Activision, and how are you going to divvy that up? Who's going to be overseeing all that? You're going to let Activision run itself just like you let Bethesda run itself? How is that going to work out?
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, remember they tried Killer Instinct, right, to bring that back.
No, that was actually good.
Yeah, that sort of worked for a while.
It lasted 3 seasons. I mean,
yeah. I'm surprised they haven't like tried to do that again. Like people are, I mean, yes, it's a certain genre, but it's a genre that the fighting community loves to have its games to rep. And
I mean, it was diminishing returns because unlike Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, Killer Instinct doesn't have like a great roster of characters.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, they already had like the good characters in the first release, so it's like, well, we put in some Battletoads, I guess.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, some of the Mortal Kombat stuff, like bringing in guest characters, doesn't always work for every game.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter have deep enough rosters where
even Soul Calibur to a point.
Yeah. So, or Tekken, or Killer Instinct has like the 10 main guys and the one girl, and that's about it.
Yeah, they would have to make a lot of original characters probably,
right?
And then that's also like diminishing returns at that point.
Yep.
So leaving Media Molecule is one of the head guys, the co-founders, Marc Healy, who's basically deciding that he pretty much just said, look, I'm not getting any younger. I kind of want to go do something else. He mentions go on a pirate adventure, which many people think that he's going to go work on Sea of Thieves. I don't know if he's going to do that, but
He's going
like,
to go to
hey,
Somalia.
yeah, I don't know about that either. But he, he did work at Lionhead in the past as well before he founded Media Molecule and I mean,
no man, he's going to go work in Skull and Bones.
Oh God, Ubisoft really just needs to talk about putting something out to die.
Yeah,
like you keep delaying that, and
that's most of their games.
I feel like they just released all these games, and like there was something you talk about for like the first couple of weeks, and then like what happened with Rainbow Six Extraction, right? It was like a thing for like the first week or two, and then
that's done.
Never heard again.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, it released on what was it, PS Plus last month, and I was like, oh, I forgot that was a thing, right? Like,
yeah,
yes. And Keith mentions that there were 5 female characters in the rebooted Killer Instinct.
Yeah, but the original game only had 1. Like that's
yeah.
And I think Killer Instinct 2 only had like maybe 2.
Yeah, I mean, Keith also does bring up a point that a lot of fighting game fans don't like things being stuck on one platform. Yeah, I mean that's true. How many people were actually complaining the Street? Like, I want to know. I want to go back and like know how many people were actually complaining the Street Fighter was stuck on PlayStation.
Well,
the
problem with your thought experiment is that was a bad Street Fighter game. So,
well, I mean, but also like Sony helped like developing it as well,
right?
So, but it's good that Capcom is going back to the multi-platform.
Yeah,
release for that.
I mean, there's a lot of positive buzz about Street Fighter 6. That's going to help.
Yeah, they're doing this week. I think they're doing the showcase for it. So we're gonna get to see more of that. I watched that whole Final Fantasy 16 one, and now I'm just ready for June 22nd to come. I saw everything I wanted to see from that thing. I'm glad we finally kind of know a lot of the ins and outs of that game. And yep, I'm ready. I'm ready for that game. I don't really know. I hope that like they just happen to show a lot of like the big enemies, because I'm worried about how spongy some of those enemies were. Like, I really don't want to be there fighting grunts and taking forever to take them out. Like, the whole part of fun about a Final Fantasy game eventually is that you feel kind of overpowered. And if you don't ever get that because everybody's kind of like leveling to you.
That's always been my problem with that type of leveling mechanic.
Yeah.
Like you want to. That was the problem with that Assassin's Creed game, Origin. Is everything leveled with you? That sucked.
Yeah.
You want to like 100 hours in, you want to go back to like the starting area and be like, oh, this guy used to give me a ton of problems, but now one hit and he's dead. But now he's on the same level as I am, so this doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I don't know. You're the one. It's so weird, like how you feel about those games. Like you love Valhalla. You're not a big fan of
I like Valhalla a lot, but also I played it before they introduced that leveling mechanic.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Okay, so it wasn't like that at first?
No, because initially it was like, oh, this area is 1 to 5 like level. This area is like 6 to 10. But I think Origin and Odyssey start like that, and it's like, well, okay. Leveling up is going to be pointless then, because everyone's just getting stronger along with me.
And Keith does mention he went to PAX East, and he said he played Street Fighter 6, and reception was super positive. It does feel like that. Everything I've seen about the game, everybody's excited about when they add a character, even the story mode, everything. So will be awesome when we get to. That's right around the corner too, June 2nd, right? So yeah, won't be long until.
And after that, they can find like another rival schools game.
Yeah, so we'll see if they do that. But I mean, Capcom's rolling right now. Everything they make has been doing wonders.
Yeah.
Speaking of rolling, Harry Potter's. Say what you will about their rebooting the whole movie stuff into TV series. That's another thing for another
It's
day.
dumb.
But
Moving on.
yeah, but they did. I think this actually might be a good idea. This them announcing a Quidditch game by itself. This isn't the first time they've had a Quidditch. Wasn't it on GameCube?
There was like a PS1 game, I think.
Yeah, like they had. So there was a lot of talk at first of like, oh, how can you have this Harry Potter game and you don't have Quidditch in it? Like that's such a like big spectacle of Harry Potter, especially in the movies, you know. And
Not really. I mean, it's a spectacle, but they play such a limited role in the movie, and like,
well, but like it's one of those things I think about when I think about Harry Potter. Like it has its own game that's kind of interesting, you know. Like I guess you could call it the Blitzball of Harry Potter or whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, they're making its own game. It's not going to be like DLC for Hogwarts Legacy. It's going to be called Quidditch Champions. It's on PC and right now unconfirmed console platforms, but I'd imagine it's at least coming to series consoles and PS5. They're basically saying it's supposed to be like as close to the game as possible, fast and competitive multiplayer with world's most iconic magical sport, whatever that means.
Let me float this conspiracy theory. Do you think they held it out of Hogwarts because they wanted to make it a separate game?
Probably also because it was much easier for them to do as a separate game than try to bolt it on to something, and then probably have to delay that game even further because they would want this to be such another like huge part of that story, right? Like you're gonna tell people you can play Quidditch, and then you can have like your own like season of Quidditch, and
because
you know,
I think there are data miners who dug around Hogwarts Legacy, and there is like Quidditch stuff in that game, that is not implemented, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there probably was at one point. Like they probably did think about, let's put this in here,
right?
And then they looked at the game and said, okay, this game's already pretty big. Like maybe let's need to remove some stuff, and that was one of the things that somebody goes, you know what?
Yeah,
we could just make a Harry Potter sports game like later. Like let's see how this goes. And obviously, it has a lot to do with the fact that Hogwarts Legacy sold gazillions, right? 12 million at one point. Like that already tells you people are hungry for more. Hey, look, listen, we could talk all the junk we want to talk about them rebooting this series and all this crap, but people are going to watch it, unfortunately. So
and they'll watch it. They'll watch like the first episode to see if it's actually good or not, and then decide from there.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like being a TV series, I think it's different than say, like, I had to go pay a bunch of money to go watch those prequel movies. Like this is supposed to be
Lord of the Rings TV show.
Well, it's different. Like they're basically redoing what you already know again. So it's different than like, we're doing our own story here. I hope you like it, kind of thing. Right. Like they did with Lord of the Rings. So, and also because like, how could you redo? Like that's the thing that like I don't understand how we're gonna do this. Like those movies were already pretty good. How are you gonna redo this again and just like, we're gonna add more context now? Like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's what they're talking about, rebooting the Lord of the Rings movies. It's like, no,
like we don't need that. Like, we already have what is it, like 27 hours you can go watch of the original movies. I mean,
yeah,
like that's enough. So, I'm sure we'll find out more about this as time goes on. It's apparently already been involved for like a couple of years, actually, at the same studio that is working on Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, which officially got delayed to 2024. We talked about it possibility, and now it's official. February 2nd, 2024 is the release date, tentative right now. Definitely a situation where, look, that state of play happened and people were not happy about it. And They let people know.
It's only a delay of 9 months, man. Come on.
They're not gonna take out the live service stuff though. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do to this series or anything, but
I don't think they'll take it out, but you have to wonder how much they can tweak it to not be unbearable, or how much, will their WB overlords let them do that? Because like, as much as 2K is like bad about that type of stuff, or EA, WB is actually kind of the worst.
Yeah, but the good thing is, it seems like the vibe around it is not like Gotham Knights. It seems to be more positive from people both working on the game and then people that have talked to people working on the game. So
yeah,
that's good. Like, it seems like, as much as we want to say that maybe it wasn't true, there seems to be like people are enjoying making this, even though we may not think it's enjoyable, or that may not be, live service may not be like our go-to thing. So there is like hype for this, but just the way they showed it wasn't the best. We'll see what they actually change or remove or update whenever they actually show anything else about this game. Hopefully it turns into a Halo Infinite thing, in that Halo Infinite's negativity became positive in the lead up to the game releasing. So that's something you would hope that game also goes through.
Yeah.
But still a long time. 9 months is a long time. And
it's not a delay of like 2 weeks or like a month.
Yeah.
Like 9 months is substantial. So.
A lot can happen in that time. So I forgot to mention we were talking about Mario, but hey, the Mario theme is going to be part of the Library of Congress. It's going to be in the United States National Recording Registry, the first video game composition that is going to be included in that, along with a lot of other like classic songs that I'm not going to mention here just for the sake of, I don't want to get copyright striked for some reason. So yeah,
First
this
Mario,
is cool.
First Mario, yeah. Next One Winged Angel.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised. I would say the Final Fantasy theme is also pretty iconic, but yeah, One Winged Angels probably more so than that. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that Mario's just like riding this wave of. It almost feels like, look, I wasn't alive in that time, so I can't really tell you from experience, but it kind of does feel like Mario's having another like cultural moment, similar to like when it released on the NES. Like, if I forgot to mention, but after I saw that movie, all I wanted to do was go play like Mario Kart, and I played some. I hadn't booted up Mario Kart 8 in years, and I played that for a while, and then I played New Super Mario Brothers U for a while after I watched the movie too. So it worked. I wonder how many people are going to say they bought a Switch that hadn't bought one after they watched that movie now. Hey, it works as a nostalgia machine. It's doing that. So again, cool to see this for Mario anyway. Speaking of old games, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed is for some reason just now getting a last gen port. And they're going to remove the multiplayer elements, which make a lot of sense. Why would you put that into a last gen game already?
Right. I mean, the bigger question is, why do this at all? Like,
yeah,
that game didn't do well, I imagine, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
you're gonna flush more money on basically the demake of the remake. Why? Like, is there any demand whatsoever? That's the question that I want to be asking.
Yeah, I don't understand this either from Embracer Group. Some Embracer Groups make some weird decisions sometimes, and I'm just kind of like, why? Like, who thought this was a great idea? Was this something that they had made in a contract, and somebody realized, oh crap, we have to actually put this out?
Yeah,
and that's what this is. Or
I think that first one did pretty well. Or
You mean the
reasonably
one on
well.
the current gen
Yeah.
consoles? It did decent, it feels like, but I just remember it was never something that it's people that were excited about it, I guess, but there wasn't like this, oh my god, you need to go play this kind of feeling about it at all. I don't think even Jens was excited for this, and he likes the first one. But yeah, I would imagine it has to be like a contract thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Like why would you do this so long after?
Right.
It's not like Hogwarts, right, where they kind of told
they
you from the
announced it was getting
beginning.
delayed, but
Exactly.
the plan was for it to come out at the same time.
Yeah, the plan was eventually like, okay, let's get the current ones out, and then eventually we'll get the last gen ones out or whatever, and then the Switch one will come eventually whenever it comes. And but we know that, right? Not like this where it's like, oh, okay, like sure, whatever, I guess. I mean, at least it's gonna be budget priced at $30.
Yeah.
It's gonna come out June 27th, but I guess if you're still gaming on the last gen and you like to destroy all humans too, go for it.
One of you.
all one of you. It's just because I thought this was so silly, because it continues this whole narrative of the U.S. Congress getting involved for some reason in this Microsoft Sony spat. North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Kramer is not happy about Sony's anti-competitive behavior and wants all of the company's acquisition agreements. I'm concerned that Sony's dominance of the market and its efforts to perpetuate its current position imperils an important economic development opportunity for North Dakota, who, studying gaming is apparently going to become a big, or is a thing, or will eventually become a big thing for North Dakota. So this is a problem for this North Dakota senator. I'm pretty sure these other governing bodies are already handling this, so I don't know that you need to do this yourself. It feels like a publicity stunt, as most of this political stuff is, but
yeah.
I
mean, I would ask the inverse. Like, let's say Sony did cancel all of their exclusivity stuff. Well, would you want Microsoft to do the same thing?
It's so weird because like exclusivity has been part of gaming for like ever since we've had the consoles.
Yeah.
So why all of a sudden is it like, look, at a basic standpoint, is it anti-consumer? Yeah. At a basic standpoint of, sure, would we love for everything to be on all the consoles? Yeah, everybody would. But unfortunately, if you don't have something that people need to go buy that thing for, why are they going to buy it? It's like, imagine if Nintendo games were also on PlayStation.
Right.
Would you really go buy a Switch? Why would you buy the inferior machine?
Yeah.
Like,
I believe I'm still pissed that like Shin Megami Tensei 5 isn't on PlayStation or PC or something worthwhile.
I mean, it's like those things are weird, right? When they work in the inverse ways. Like, I don't really understand why Octopath Traveler 2 is on an Xbox when the first one was, other than, obviously Square Enix is hoping for that Game Pass money twice. But like, it's so weird when, you have games that like Nintendo had like the marketing rights for that game for the first time. The second time they didn't do it that way. It's like the way they change this stuff all the time, depending on who bought like now, if you go anywhere, when you see stuff for Persona 5, it's all got Xbox marketing on it.
Yeah.
because they paid a bunch of stuff for that too. So all this stuff always happens that way. It will always be a driver of consoles until everything maybe is on a service or whatever. And I don't think that will ever happen with gaming because there's too much problems with the whole. We don't have any sense of preservation when it comes to gaming. We just dealt with this with the 3DS and Wii U shop going down. Eventually, Sony is gonna do it with the PS3 and the PSP and the
They already
Vita.
tried, remember?
Yeah, but eventually they're gonna just stick to their guns and they're gonna do it. We're just gonna have to deal with it, just like we dealt with it with on the Nintendo side.
Yeah.
Maybe by then they will have made a lot of those games available to buy on the PS5. It sucks that they have all these games on that service and then like only some of them are available to buy and then some of them are not, which is weird. I don't know how that works. But yeah, it's one of these things where that's always been part of gaming. Is the way Sony does it good? No. I don't think that Sony should just be basically taking entire series away from Xbox or whatever, but Square Enix also makes decisions themselves, right? They choose not to put this game out on Xbox. There's a lot of Japanese developers that don't put their games out on Xbox. It's not just Square Enix. Square Enix gets picked on a lot.
Yeah.
It's really weird that you have all the other Final Fantasies from 7 to 15, excluding 14, obviously. And then you don't let them have 1 through 6. That's just, I don't know. Like, you made a whole big deal about putting 7 through 12 on there, and then you're going to exclude the Pixel remasters. It feels weird. Which those, come out this week. So, speaking of, might as well just get into it. I think that's pretty much it, unless there was something else you wanted to talk about.
I think I'm good. But again, that Suicide Squad thing is pretty funny.
Oh, I forgot. You said is there anything about Everspace 2, I guess, that
it's good. It doesn't run well on my computer, but my computer's old now, so it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
But fun game. The UI.
It's been in early access for
year,
like,
yeah,
how long
at least
now?
a year and a half, 2 years maybe. So
yeah,
but now it's complete, and yeah, I enjoy it. I don't know if I'm not sure if I ever will finish it to review.
Right.
Also, I feel kind of not great about reviewing it because of the performance issues. Like it's not the game's fault. It's my computer that's having trouble. So
unfortunately, that's what happens. The computer's kind of, you got to keep them up to date.
Like this game could obviously play really well on consoles, and I assume it will come to consoles eventually.
Yeah,
and it'll look really nice on a console. I mean, I'm using a PS4 controller to play it, so
yeah. Let's hope that it eventually does, so that you have more people get to play it that can't on a PC. But yeah, that being said, there are some cool games coming out this week. I mentioned Minecraft Legends is pretty much out there as we speak. Probably as you're watching or listening to this, it is available for you to consume, whether it's on Game Pass or you buy it or however you choose to play that game. It will be there for you. I mentioned the Pixel remasters; they will be out on Wednesday. Happy birthday, Dad. Also, that's my dad's birthday at that point. And just want to give a shout out. I'm sure he will never watch this, but while he yeah.
Here's your birthday present.
Yeah, exactly. That Horizon Forbidden West DLC, Burning Shore. Are you gonna play that?
Nope, I don't have it. But
well, I mean, you played Forbidden West.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a code in, I mean, I'd be the one playing it. But...
Yeah, but it doesn't interest you as just a game, getting to continue that story at all, or
no, After
Alright,
finishing
fair
the
enough.
second game, I'm like, I'm kind of done here. Like,
Okay.
because if anything, like they regress the story from the first game, so it's like you guys were really just kind of spinning your wheels here, aren't you?
Yeah, it's one like it's very a game that like seems again a lot of people loved. There are quite a few like you as well that weren't biggest fans of it,
Yeah,
or didn't like it as much as the first game, or for whatever reason. And then of course Elden Ring ate its lunch, so
yeah,
that
just
doesn't
like
help
the
either.
first game
Like
with Zelda. So
yeah, that did not help at all there. So uh Lost Epic is like this anime Souls like, which looks kind of cool. That's also coming out on the 19th. I'm sort of interested in that. And then you have some other cool like indie stuff coming, like Stray Blade and Tin Hearts. Dead Island also comes out on the 21st. Dead Island 2, sorry. That long awaited game, Dead Island 2, which hey, Kyle got to play it early and he says it actually plays pretty well and he's sort of excited for it. So Kyle that we had on here reviewing the PSVR 2. So I trust his word. He's when it comes to gaming taste, he's pretty right on with how I think of games, and I know you guys kind of talk a lot on Twitter as well. So, and yeah, man, I'm still having to. I've got two of my favorite game series coming out in the same week. Randy had asked me if I was going to buy any of the Pixel remasters. I was like, I want to buy the whole set, but I just like know that I'm not going to play them right away. So like, I don't really have a rush to go buy them.
yeah,
And I feel the same way about like I've been waiting for a long time for Advance Wars, but I also know that I'm not gonna play this right away either. So I'm not like running to go buy it on release week. But yeah, I will eventually.
I actually might, considering they might delist it again, or
You think so?
no, but
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad that it's finally coming out. That we've had to wait long enough for that.
yeah.
But all right, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. Thank you so much, Keith, for watching along, and y'all folks on Twitch as well. Y'all were thanks for all the questions and comments. It's cool when you have stuff you can read on the show. Also, go check out the latest spec mode. It just came out yesterday as well. They talked about this whole thing with Redfall, and they had their review of the Mario movie as well. Don't forget, again, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can go check out Randy and Jens on Chapter Select reviewing the movie. Damn You Hollywood, Radulich folks, they also reviewed the movie. You go check that out. I'm going to have links in the description for them as well. If you're wanting to listen on audio, you can do so. So until next week, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, follow, all of that. Go give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That will help us a lot grow the show. You can also, comment on the YouTubes or go find us on Twitter at WTimSon, at Humanity Play for Marc. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.
Later.